Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. It's Tuesday, August 19, 2025, and the time is 2:31 p.m. I call the meeting of the Committee on Housing, Homelessness, and Parks to order. Welcome to the committee members who are present in the chamber today. Committee Vice Chair Toba, Council Members Cordero, Nishimoto, I believe Weyer, and we have Councilmember Dos Santos Tan joining us today. Pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92-3.7, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items in the agenda two ways, in person in the council chamber and remotely. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when each agenda item is taken up, and it's limited to 1 minute presentation on each item. As well, English and Olelo Hawaii are official languages of the state of Hawaii pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Constitution, Section 1-13 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes. Member of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo Hawaii, additional time may be necessary, will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation for their testimony. All persons who have registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When your name is called, please come up to the testifier podium. State your name for the record. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to testify following the registered testifiers. After in-person testimony has concluded, I will proceed to remote testimony via video conference or phone. When I call your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number, please unmute your audio, press *6 when prompted. Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92-3.7 requires that all votes at a remote meeting be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I will first call for objections, and if there are any, I will call for a roll call vote. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all your cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Thank you. Moving to agenda item number 1. Resolution 25-205. This resolution renames the Pearl City District Park Pool to Ken Suenaga Pearl City District Park Pool in recognition of Coach Suenaga's 59-year legacy of mentorship and advocacy, his service in the U.S. Army, and his significant contributions to his community and to the city. With us, we have Director Laura Thielen.
Thank you, council members. Laura Thielen on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation. We fully support the resolution, and we would like to thank the Ken Suenaga as well as his family for the tremendous community benefits and contributions he made and his generosity over the 59 years. And I cannot think of a better person to name this pool after.
That's significant. 59 years, my goodness. Members, do we have any questions for the director? Okay, we will now proceed with in-person testimony. Clerks, are there any in-person registered testifiers? Nope, there are none. Clerks, are there any remote registered testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. Are there any individuals in the chambers wishing to testify on Resolution 25-205? Clerks, is there anyone raising their hand online, not registered, that would like to testify on Resolution 25-205?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Seeing no discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-205 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Is there a CD on top of this? No, 25-205. No. It's just there if you find this page. Okay. Moving to agenda item number 2, Resolution 25-211. This resolution accepts a gift from the city from Bruce Tartaleski of 1 6-foot high back traditional bench, preparations of the grounds, building of forms, and pouring of cement and bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by the family of Kosti and Betty Tarleski, valued at $2,521.67 to be installed at Makapu'u Beach Park. With us, we have Director Laura Thielen.
Thank you, council members. Laura Thielen on behalf of the department. We would like to thank the family of Kosti and Betty Tarletsky. I thought my last name was hard to pronounce. For their generosity. The benches are greatly appreciated by the people who utilize our parks.
Do you know where it's going to be placed in Makapu'u?
We normally have a map attached. If we have not, we would be going out to the site with the family to identify a location, but I think we do have a map attached in this area to the submittal before the council, and it looks like it's going to be going on the grassy area up above overlooking the surf area.
Oh, it's going to be so nice. Perfect. Council members, do we have any questions for the director? Seeing none, clerks, are there any registered remote or in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Are there any persons in the chamber wishing to testify on Resolution 25-11? Seeing none, clerks, are there any persons online wishing to testify that are not registered?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Nope. No comments, makapu'u. Okay, let's do this. The chair recommends that Resolution 25-211 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Let's move on to item agenda number 3. Resolution 25-212. This resolution accepts a gift to the city from Linda Clark of 1 6-foot high back traditional bench, preparations of the grounds, building of forms, and pouring of cement and bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by the family of Ron Libickman, valued at $2,849.51 to be installed at Leahi Beach Park located on Diamond Head Road. With us, we have Director Laura Thielen, Department of Parks and Recreation.
Again, Laura Thielen, on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation, we'd like to thank the family of Ron Liebkubman, and this bench would be located at Leahi Beach Park looking out over the ocean.
Thank you so much. Clerks, are there any testifiers in person or remotely that are registered?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Are there any persons wishing to testify on Resolution 25-212 in the chambers? Seeing none, clerks, are there any persons online unregistered that are wanting to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you so much. Members, we are in discussion. Okay, seeing no discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-212 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Let's move on to agenda item number 4. Resolution 25-213. This resolution accepts a gift to the city from Elena Greiger Bell of 1 6-foot high back traditional bench, preparations of the grounds, building of forms, and pouring of cement and bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by the friends and family and friends of Cher Nalani Sullivan, valued at $3,669.51 to be installed at Sandy Beach Park. Members, please note that we posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 to the resolution identified as OCS 2025-0628/8/12/2025 9:49 a.m. And a summary of the amendments was also posted. With us, we have Director Laura Thielen.
Council, thank you again. We would like to support this donation for the bench and thank the family of Cher Nalani Sullivan. This bench will be located on the Mackay side of the road looking out over the ocean at Sandy Beach.
It's like a little bit more expensive than the other two. Is this bench different in composition?
Some of the benches are a little more expensive. The benches either tend to be the same bench at the same price, and the difference may be the cement pad that needs to go in at the bench, sometimes for ADA accessibility purposes. So, and in some cases, the families will purchase a different type of bench that would be installed.
Understood. Thank you, Director. Clerks, do we have any in-person or online registered testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Are there any persons in the chamber wishing to testify on Resolution 25-213? Clerks, are there any persons online unregistered wanting to testify on Resolution 25-213?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-213 be amended to the proposed CD1 as identified in OCS 2025-0628. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, this resolution is amended to CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-213 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Let's move on to agenda item number 5. This resolution accepts the gift to the city from Marie Muir as 1 6-foot high back traditional bench, preparations of the grounds, building of forms, and pouring of cement and bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by Girl Scout Troop 873, valued at $3,119.51 to be installed at Ma'ILI Beach Park located on Diamond Head Road. With us, we have Director Laura Thielen.
Thank you, Chair. Again, we want to thank the Girl Scout troop, on behalf of Marie Muir family, the MΑ'ILI Beach Park bench would be installed facing the ocean to the side of where the showers and the tables are located.
That beach park is so beautiful. I just have to say that. Peaceful, serene. Clerks, do we have any registered in-person or remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Are there any persons in the chamber wishing to testify in Resolution 25-214? Seeing none. Are there any persons, clerk, online wishing to testify in this resolution who are unregistered?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Seeing none, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-214 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Let's move on to agenda item number 6. This resolution accepts a gift to the city from Michael Rawlins of 1 6-foot high back traditional bench, preparations of the grounds, building of forms, and pouring of cement, and a bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by the family of Mike and Nancy Rawlins, valued at $2,621.67, to be installed at Sandy Beach Park. With us, we have Director Laura Thielen.
The Department of Parks and Recreation is grateful for the generosity of the family of Mike and Nancy Rawlins. This is the second bench on the agenda today to be installed at Sandy Beach Park. The first would be on the Hawaii Kai side of the parking lot, Makai of the road facing the beach. This one will be on the Eva side of the parking lot, Makai of the road facing the beach.
There's not too many benches at Sandy Beach, right?
Not enough for all the people that like to go sit there and watch the
It is
boogie
quite
boarders and
popular.
surfers.
Thank you, Director. Members, any questions for the Director? Seeing none. Clerks, do we have any in-person or online registered testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Are there any persons in person wishing to testify in Resolution 25-215? Seeing none. Clerks, are there any unregistered online testifiers willing to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Members, we are in discussion. Seeing none, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-215 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Let's move on to agenda item number 7. This resolution accepts a gift to the city from William MΑ'ILI of 1 6-foot high back traditional bench, preparation of the grounds, building of forms, and pouring of cement, and a bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by the family of Malana, valued at $2,621.67, to be installed at Kapi'olani Regional Park, Poni Moi Triangle. Members, please note that we posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 to the resolution identified as OCS 2025-0629/8/12/2025, 11:13 a.m., and a summary of the amendments was also posted. With us, we have Director Thielen.
We do have a tremendous number of bench donations this month, and again, want to thank the family of Malana for their generosity. This bench would be located near the Dillingham Fountain at Kapi'olani Park.
That's called Poni Moi Triangle. Oh, nice. Questions from the committee members? Seeing none. Clerks, are there any registered in-person or remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Are there any persons in the chamber willing or wanting to testify on Resolution 25-216? Seeing none. Clerks, are there any online unregistered testifiers wanting to testify?
Chair, there are none.
All right, members, we are in discussion. Seeing none, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-216 be amended to the posted proposed CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0629. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, the resolution is amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-216 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 8. This resolution accepts a gift from the city from Martin Esposito of 1 high back traditional bench, preparation of the grounds, building of forms, pouring of cement, and a bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by the family of Joe and Gladys Esposito, valued at $2,819.51, to be installed at Kailua Beach Park. With us, Director Thielen.
Thank you, Chair. The Department of Parks and Recreation is grateful for the generosity of the family of Joe and Gladys Esposito. This bench would be located at Kailua Beach Park in between the boat ramp and the parking lot opposite Buzz's on the beach side.
Thank you so much, Director, for the specificity. Members, any questions for the Director? Seeing none, clerks, are there any online or in-person registered testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Are there any persons in the chamber wanting to testify in Resolution 25-220? Seeing none, clerks, are there any unregistered online testifiers wanting to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Members, we are in discussion. Seeing none, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-220 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Let's move on to agenda item number 9. This resolution accepts a gift to the city of cash in the amount of $3,000 from Friends of Honolulu Parks and Recreation for the Department of Parks and Recreation to use towards community benefit projects and to purchase related items, like but not limited to refreshments, awards, prizes, supplies, equipment, contractual and other support services, transportation, and clothing, such as t-shirts and visors for DPR programs and/or events. With us, we have Director Thielen.
Thank you, Chair. The department is very grateful for all of the volunteer work and support provided by the Friends of Honolulu Parks and Recreation. Many of them are retired parks personnel who just can't stop. But they also are very generous in supporting programs, and these types of gifts are the things that will kind of take things over, where we recently had a drawing contest by a number of youth, and their families came in and they were able to have an awards ceremony for them, which made it a little more special for all of the families. And so we really are very appreciative of all the support they give year in and year out.
Will this donation be used for one particular parks event or for many?
For many park events.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions from the committee members? Seeing none, clerks, do we have any registered in-person or online testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Are there any persons wishing to testify in Resolution 25-225? Seeing none. Are there any online testifiers that are not registered that want to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Seeing none, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-225 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Let's move on to agenda item number 10. This resolution urges the city administration to create a residential relocation assistance program and a dedicated full-time equivalent position to assist residents with relocation needs arising from city-funded housing projects. The program shall be placed within the Department of Community Services or a more appropriate city department as determined by the mayor. With us, we have Director Designee Kevin Auger, Department of Housing and Land Management.
Aloha, Committee Chair Tupola and Honorable Council members. Kevin Auger, Director Designate of the Department of Housing and Land Management. We generally support Resolution 25-185, although we might suggest that it would be better placed in the Department of Housing and Land Management as it's more consistent with the department's activities. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I'll defer to the introducer if you'd like to ask any questions, or go ahead, you have the floor.
Mahalo, Chair. And no questions, but would just note I'm comfortable with whatever Chair's inclination is. I know we could delete the last whereas clause and strike the second, be it further resolved, just language specifying community service if you're so inclined. But I know you noted that it does mention within a more appropriate city department as determined by the mayor. And so I think it's broad enough right now to be broader than just the Department of Community Services and could include DHLM. I wanted to say mahalo, Director, for having the conversation, for the work that you're doing, and really just noting that the intent of the resolution is to really ensure that we're covering all of our bases, providing support to the community in all contexts when we're having projects pass through council, because then it just ensures that we're heading off or preventing any tension or conflict in the community. So, mahalo, Chair.
Thank you so much. If you could, why don't you just make the verbal amendment? I think that what you suggested is great. So you can move to make that amendment. We can get a second, and then I'll check with OCS.
Okay.
Thank
mahalo,
you.
Chair. So the motion would be to amend Resolution 25-185 to strike the last whereas clause. And then the second, be it further resolved clause would read that the city administration place this program within an appropriate city department as determined by the mayor.
Second.
Okay, sounds good. Let's have a discussion on the motion and the second. Any discussion by committee members? Okay, I have no problem with that. Let's proceed on to testimony, and then we'll conclude this bill. Clerks, are there any in-person or registered testifiers for Resolution 25-185?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you so much. Are there any persons in person wishing to testify in Resolution 25-185? Seeing none, clerks, are there any online testifiers unregistered wishing to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. We're in discussion. Any discussion? Okay. The chair recommends that Resolution 25-185 be amended with the verbal amendments as stated by Councilmember Weyer and second by Councilmember Cordero. Thank you. Is there any objections or reservation to amending Resolution 25-185? Seeing none, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-185 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Let's move on to agenda item number 11. Bill 20. This bill amends Chapter 6 of the revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021 by adding a new article that creates and establishes a special fund to be known as Down Payment Loan Assistance Revolving Fund to assist prospective home buyers who reside in the city, do not own real property, and have an annual income at 120% or below of the area median income for the city as determined by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. With us, we have Edward Los Banos, Deputy Director of Department and Planning Permitting. Edward, please explain.
Aloha, Edward Los Banos, Deputy Director, Department of Community Services. Actually, with me today, I have with me Gavin Thornton, who's our Director of Housing Policy at Department of Housing and Land Management, and I'll actually turn it over to him for comments.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Again, my name is Gavin Thornton. I'm the new Director of Housing Policy within the Department of Housing and Land Management. And I appreciate this opportunity to testify. I also appreciate the intent behind this bill. Commend the sponsors for tackling a critical issue, trying to find ways to help our local families purchase more homes in our communities. A down payment program like the one that Bill 20 proposes could indeed help some families purchase a home. But I request that you defer the bill for further consideration to see whether it's really an effective use of taxpayer dollars in terms of addressing the affordable housing crisis. I think this is potentially a positive step, but given the scope of the housing crisis, the massive problems that we face, the limited resources that we have, I think it's really important that we put forth our resources towards pulling the biggest levers of change that are going to address that crisis. And without seeing more evidence about the efficacy of this proposed down payment program, it seems unlikely that it would have a significant impact relative to the program costs. I just want to point out, I think one of the main ways to resolve the housing crisis is by putting our resources toward developing new homes. This wouldn't create a single new home. We're in a housing shortage. It would give a few families a leg up to be able to pay a down payment to purchase their homes. But if we really want to address the affordability problems on a large scale, I think we need to put our resources towards building more of those affordable homes. Relatedly, this program will require some resources to implement. It requires underwriting, managing loans, servicing them, and really thinking through carefully what those costs are going to be before jumping into something like this. So for all those reasons, I respectfully request that you defer Bill 20 for further analysis or discussion, which I'd be happy to be a part of if invited.
Okay, I'm going to defer to Councilmember Cordero, who introduced this bill with me, but did your department submit any written comments about this bill?
We did not, Chair.
Okay, that's unfortunate. I have lots of comments, but I'll let you go first. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Tupola. Thank you very much for those comments. That is something that we've discussed heavily in the past few years as it relates to down payment loan assistance with the program that DCS currently administers with federal funds, which also are taxpayer funded more than our real property taxes. So I was wondering, with the suggestion to develop and build more homes, which I also agree with, are you aware of the different funds within the city and county of Honolulu that currently lapses or continues to just hold millions of dollars without being used to develop housing?
I am not intimately familiar, and let me apologize. I'm still getting my bearings, and I apologize for not submitting written testimony prior, and would love the opportunity to discuss this further. I'm not intimately familiar with all the funds that are lapsing. In my brief experience, I do know that there's a sincere effort to maximize the resources that we have. I'm committed to assisting with that effort. I know it's an issue. And again, this could be a helpful program for families. It could assist them. In my role as Housing Policy Director, I just want to try to make sure that we're using the resources that we have on the things that will have the greatest impact.
Thank you. And I know as a Housing Policy Director, I know that, it takes different tools to get people housed and the resources to be housed. So I just want to ensure that both of our intent and the discussions that we've had was to ensure that this type of program and a revolving fund would then allow for those types of resources. So I'll let the chair continue that. And I know that you requested for a further discussion. However, I do want to see that this bill continue to be a vehicle to either, whether it be in public hearing, depending on the committee chair, but so that we can reach out to more people when we do push it out for public hearing, so that people can share their stories of how it may have assisted them or not. And so yeah, just wanted to kick it back over to you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Any other questions from committee members? Seeing none, where do I start? First off, I was kind of taken back by the statement that was made that it's not going to help a lot of people. There are so many people that don't have money for a down payment. So I'm not saying we're the only vehicle, but literally in my community of like tons of brand new homes, it doesn't matter that there's brand new homes if people don't have the money to put down. So we're trying to address things, and to her point, we're trying to use funds that may exist already that do not tap the same funds that we would have used to build homes. How many new houses is the city gonna build this fiscal year? Do you know?
I do not.
Well, in the last hearing that we had, the answer was 0. So I do not know if that's true or not. And if that's the case, that we're kind of like in a reset mode, that's fine. But if we are not in the mode of building new homes, then we are not handling the biggest load, then we have to do something, or we should do something that can help families. Thank you for standing, Deputy Director, because I was gonna call you up. Can you please come up and explain the current program that we have for down payments?
So Chair, if I can so let me answer your question first. So Edward Los Banos, Deputy Director, Department of Community Services. So we currently have a program, a down payment loan program, reaches 80% AMI households. That's a program that's funded by Home Funds, HUD, Home Investment Program Act funds. So that's the limitation of the program. So what you're proposing here, going up to 120%, is a different program. But I would like to offer that HGFTC is on track, and they presented this in the August 14th board meeting that they had, to do a down payment and mortgage assistance loan program starting November 2025. They're looking to fund the program with as much as $30 million. They're working on the bond issue, a private activity bond issue right now. So come November timeframe, HGFTC is looking to announce a new program. And like I said, this is as recent as their August 14th board meeting.
So in regards to the 80%, so the 80% one that you guys are doing, you're using federal funds to do that, and it's for down payment?
Correct. It operates on a 20-year amortization schedule, but if you're still in good standing after 10 years, we forgive the last 10 years of the participation in the program.
So when we brought this up, because both she and I had brought this up previously, and Director Crookie stood up and actually told us, hey, maybe we should go with a revolving fund. That's kind of where we landed with this. So do you have any suggestions on how we could better amend this bill to kind of mirror what you're doing or help?
Well, I'd support the position offered by Gavin Thornton. As I mentioned, HHFDC is offering a program. The program will reach up to 120% AMI, actually goes slightly above 120% AMI households in terms of income. So I mean, I think there is more information on how we can craft the program that could meet an unmet niche possibly that the program does not meet. So I think there's more information that can come, but you know, there is a robust program at $30 million. Last time I talked to David Oy at HHFDC, he said, usually when they do these programs, over 80% of the funds go to Oahu. That's because that's where the inventory rests. So, I
True.
mean,
So you're suggesting is that we study what they have or what they're going to launch and then see if there is a gap.
If your intent is to try and improve the program, you know, that's where you can improve the program and meet an unmet need rather than duplicating a program with substantive resources.
Understand. Yeah. Okay. That's a good suggestion. So I think we'll talk about that. But I do appreciate you sharing information about what we're currently doing. Thank you, Deputy Director. Any other questions from committee members? Councilmember Cordero? No, follow up. Okay. Clerks, are there any registered online or in-person testifiers?
Chair, we have one online.
Okay, we can proceed with the online testifier.
Aloha, Chair Tupola and committee members. I'm Suzanne Young with the Honolulu Board of Realtors, and we stand in strong support of Bill 20. We've had conversations about challenges that our local residents face in becoming homeowners, and you are correct. Down payment is one of those barriers to homeownership. And so yes, this could be used for existing homes, so not new homes, but existing homes. And if we can provide more funds for potential home buyers to be able to become qualified, then I think we need to do everything we can to help increase the total number of new homeowners here on our island.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your testimony. Clerks, any other testifiers, in person or online?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you very much. Are there any persons in person wishing to testify on Bill 20? Okay, seeing none, we are in discussion. Council members, any discussion? So just for reference, this bill is going to budget, so it'll still have to go to one more committee, and between now and when that bill is heard for the next committee, we will work on edits that we think will address the gap and possibly bring up things that Deputy Director suggested that we do. So with that being said, the chair recommends that Bill 20 be reported out for passage on second reading and scheduling of a public hearing, and pursuant to its consecutive referral be referred to the Committee on Budget. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 12, Bill 39. This bill addresses fire resistance rated construction and requirements for affordable rental housing projects by amending Chapter 32 of the revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021. Members, please note that we posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 to the bill identified as OCS 2025-0504-6-13/2025 6:34 a.m. submitted by Councilmember Weyer, and a summary of the amendments was also posted. With us, we have Brian Gallagher, Deputy Director, Department of Planning and Permitting.
Good evening, Council. My name is Brian Gallagher, Deputy Director, DPP. Actually, we wanted to thank Council's work on this amendment, this change to the bill. We think it's very well written. We have one change we'd like to make, if we could, just because the term combustible piping leaves it open to a whole range of potential options. The only revision we'd like to suggest is, except as otherwise allowed pursuant to Chapter 20, alternate fire-rated piping materials may be used only in affordable housing rental projects. It's just that one little change. One thing we'd like to notice, Chapter 20 is the fire code, and under that Chapter 20 fire code or ordinance, it references Building Code Chapter 16. But other than that, we'd like to thank you for your help on this, and if we can make that revision, we're good to go.
Thank you so much. I'm going to defer to both the introducers, either Councilmember Dos Santos Tam or Weyer. You can go ahead with questions.
I didn't have any additional questions, but just wanted to mahalo, the director or deputy director and the department for their work with the stakeholders. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Director. I understand that the department, under a previous Deputy Director, Jer Sumata, had convened a number of meetings to discuss improvements to the affordable rental apartment program, further changes that could be made. I know this bill only deals with some of the fire safety things, but are there other amendments or improvements to the program that the department has been looking at internally that maybe we could incorporate into a later draft of this bill?
Yeah, I really appreciate that suggestion. That is exactly what we've been talking about, and I think we should create a working group on that to identify other issues. I've asked our building chief to come up with revisions, also keeping in mind keeping costs down. Considering costs are construction materials are getting very expensive, and the department really wants to focus on ways to speed up our permitting process and make this a successful program. So we'll reach out and coordinate more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Deputy. Let's proceed with in-person or remote registered testifiers. Clerks, are there any?
Chair, yes, we have in person.
Okay. If we could please have Gina Thielen.
Chair Tupola, members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Gina Thielen. I'm here to testify in support of Bill 39. I'll stand on written testimony based on DPP's comments.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you very much. Clerks, are there any unregistered online testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Are there any persons in the chamber willing or wanting to testify on Bill 39? Okay, seeing none, we are in discussion. For the two introducers, my recommendation is that we pass this out and then we come back with your CD on the next committee hearing. Are we good? Okay. So we will be working with Deputy Director, making sure that the recommendations are in the CD, and then the next time we have this hearing, we can make sure that it's fully vetted out and helpful to DPP, but also helpful for the safety of our residents. The chair recommends that Bill 39, oh, it does have a CD right now. Should we, go ahead.
If I may ask, Chair, I'll just confirm with DPP if they were good with this or what changes they're anticipating.
So I'm sure you read through the CD. The question is whether we should pass this CD or we work on the next one. What is your suggestions?
Yeah, we'd recommend just one more revision. It's a very simple revision. It just clarifies piping materials, and it's actually working with Gina Thielen. They've actually submitted an alternate piping material that is a fire-rated plastic form of PVC that is actually acceptable and we currently use now. So we'll just tweak the language a little bit and we're okay. But yeah, if we can do one more, we'd appreciate it.
Keep it in its original version and we'll have a final CD.
We're asking whether or not we should amend it to the CD and then amend it again, or should we just pass it as is and you guys work on the rest of these amendments?
Yeah, we'll just pass it as is.
Okay, thank you. Let's do that. Let's keep it clean. So the chair recommends that Bill 39 as is be reported out for passage on second reading and scheduled for a public hearing. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you. Moving to agenda item number 13, Bill 53. This bill addresses requirements for the construction of new affordable rental housing projects by amending Chapter 32 of the revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021. And with us we have Gavin Thornton, Director of Housing Policy, Department of Housing and Land Management.
Aloha, and thank you again for this opportunity to testify, this time on Bill 53. I appreciate, again, the intent of this bill, but addressing Honolulu's housing crisis is going to require hard choices, and we recognize that new development can raise real concerns for neighborhoods. But if we're serious about making homes affordable to local families, we need to support policies that make building possible, even when that involves trade-offs. Bill 53 modifies Bill 7, which was passed in 2019, and it was designed with that reality that there need to be trade-offs in mind. It established a streamlined by right process for projects that meet strict affordability and design standards, avoiding the process delays and neighborhood oppositions that have so often been fatal to desperately needed housing development across the country. It also eliminated expensive parking mandates to increase affordability and promote transit. Those things weren't oversights, they were strategic choices to make affordable housing possible. Now, Bill 7 is still relatively new, and there are definitely likely ways to improve it to address some of the concerns that have been raised. But Bill 53 would roll back Bill 7's most critical provisions, adding major costs, reintroducing delays, and according to developers, effectively shutting down most Bill 7 projects. The fact we haven't seen more Bill 7 projects suggests that the window of opportunity for these projects is already relatively narrow. Adding in the changes proposed by Bill 53 likely stops the work altogether. For these reasons, we request that this bill be deferred. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you guys submit any written testimony on this bill?
We did not, Chair.
Yeah, so I think what I really need, especially because the intricacies of some of these bills require suggestions, written suggestions, I would appreciate it. So if you guys are in opposition, you can just write, we oppose this bill. These are the ways that we think that it could be improved. That way, as we go through the discussion, we can take your written comments, see if we can amend the bill. So the committee hearings are for us to kind of work, work on the bill, talk through it. But if I have no written testimony, I do not know exactly what direction the department would rather suggest or is currently suggesting. So you guys oppose this bill?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Committee members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, let's go to testimony. We have quite a bit. So clerks, let's start with in-person testifiers. I will go with Gina Thielen, then Justin Menina, and then Matt Prellberg. I do believe they're all here.
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Gina Thielen. I'm here in strong opposition. We are one of the most prolific Bill 7 developers currently in Oahu, myself and my partners, and it is a very challenging program. The ability to get projects off the ground is exceptionally difficult because the margins are so slim. With land costs being what they are and construction costs being what they are in Hawaii, we face significant headwinds in making any of these projects work. That being said, we have a goal of being able to provide 1,000 units of affordable housing, all set aside for 80% AMI and below, before we finish our Bill 7 journey, and we're well on the way to that goal. I can tell you right now, Bill 53 will kill Bill 7. You could just effectively repeal the original law. It's going to have the same impact. It's impossible to develop under these conditions. There's simply no margin for it. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I have a question. When you guys say you're on your way, can you tell me what number of units you're at?
Sure. So we have 2 buildings that are fully complete and occupied, and that's 51 units. We have a 3rd building that will be getting, hopefully, certificate of occupancy in September, so another 25. We have a 90-unit building that's under construction that should be done in, I think, May of next year. And we are about to break ground on a 35-unit project as well. In addition, we have about another 6 in various stages of permitting as well as design development. And we were actively looking at possible additional acquisitions to continue the program. We've paused that effort.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee members for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you so much. Let's move on to Justin Menina, and followed by Matt Prellberg.
Here we go. Hello, council members, and members of the committee. My name is Justin Menina. I am a member serving as treasurer of the MA'ILI Neighborhood Board, but today I'm testifying as a concerned citizen in strong opposition to Bill 53. Much has been submitted in testimony and in comments on why Bill 53 will untenably increase costs of affordable housing construction, but while I had a graphic I want to share with the committee, I will defer to that because I didn't include it in my online testimony, and will attempt to visualize the physical costs of Bill 53. A continental 2-bedroom apartment in the United States is around 675 square feet. For 2 parking stalls with the required entryway, exit, turn, egress, etc., is around 650 square feet. That is essentially 2 parking stalls is the equivalent of 1 lost affordable housing unit. And that's large enough for a parent with a child or 2, enough for a young working professional or a married couple like myself. It does not make sense why a community that suffers from extraneous housing costs would be required to build parking units at the risk of affordable housing. And furthermore, Bill 7 project at 1751 Algaroba had 25 units. If it were required to put in the parking structures, it would have to build 12 units, i.e. losing 6 units of residential housing.
Thank you, Mr. Menina.
Thank you.
Can we go with Mr. Matt Prellberg?
Aloha mai kako, Chair Tupola, members of the council. My name is Matt Perlberg. I am the Policy and Communications Director for Holomua Collaborative, a local nonprofit dedicated to giving local working families hope that they can afford to stay in Hawaii. We feel we stand in opposition to Bill 53. We understand that it is very well intentioned coming from the introducer and coming from the members of the neighborhood board and the community, but the unintended consequences that could result as an impact of this bill are something we feel that we cannot afford right now. Holomua conducted a survey in last year of 1,500 local residents, and of this survey, we found that approximately 70% of the local workers that were surveyed said that they were either going to move or unsure if they needed to move within the next 5 years. And we want to make sure we are doing everything we can to keep local working families in Hawaii. If this bill passes, it will raise costs of building affordable housing, and right now that is something we cannot afford. I'm available for any questions you may have. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Any questions for the testifiers? Seeing none. Are there any other persons in the council chambers willing to testify? Please come forward. I do see with us Micah Munikata from Ulupono Initiative.
Aloha, Chair Tupola, Vice Chair Toba, members of the committee. Micah Munikata here on behalf of Ulupono Initiative. We are submitting comments on this bill. While we applaud the intention of Bill 53 and where it was seeking, we do have some concerns around the parking mandate provisions that are established within. Ulupono's Hawaii-specific analysis shows that parking construction costs are $22,500 per surface parking space, and up to $42,000 per space in a structured podium structure. That amounts to roughly an additional $410 per month in rent for some of these households. I think the intent is to try to keep things as affordable as possible, and I think with added parking mandates, this may start to price some folks out. So just wanted to call some attention to that stat. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you for that data point. Any other testifiers in person wishing to testify? I do believe we have some community members. Come on up.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members. My name is Michelle Luke. Many of you are already familiar with me. I'm standing here in strong support of Bill 53. I appreciate that there may be some changes that need to be addressed with regard to the bill, but of those I've already spoken to in this panel and some of our other leaders in private, it is clear that Bill 7 has failed miserably. The community needs to be involved in these projects. Right now, Bill 7 is controlled by developers entirely. And so these projects really would benefit from community input. That's why we have neighborhood boards. It's very unique to the state. And it's something that we should promote and preserve. We should not be silencing the voice of the community. The community is the entity, the body that needs affordable housing. Why are you looking to developers only to figure out for the community what the community's needs are? So part of this bill requires involvement of the community. Projects are going to be more successful if you involve the community, not if you exclude them. History has shown the rail is a great example of what happens when you don't involve community. And so we ask that you pursue change to Bill 7 so that it actually functions for its intended purpose, which is to provide affordable housing to our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Luke. We'll go to our next testifier.
Good afternoon, Chair and Council. I'm Ann Smoke, and I am here to say that I strongly support Bill 53 for many of the same reasons Michelle just said. Community does need to have input. The developers are not looking out for the best interests of the people who already live and have established beautiful neighborhoods here. We welcome affordable housing, but we don't see the people who are fighting to make sure that it is done properly and right for the people who already live here. So oversight, I think, is a huge component of this that is necessary. Parking is also necessary. You can look back at any newspaper for the last 10 years. Parking is, and it's abominable, it's abysmal in Honolulu in general. But if you go to some of the neighborhoods where they're putting in 50-unit buildings, where there is absolutely no parking now. There's a fight. It's a battle among community members already. So to have these buildings and no parking and no way for the people who are supposed to be moving in to get to their jobs, it doesn't make any sense. So the Bill 53 just affords a little bit more sensibility to these developments that currently have no oversight and no guardrails.
Thank you. Could you state your name one more time for the record?
It's Ann Smoke.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smoke. Thank you for coming. Are there any other testifiers in person wishing to testify on Bill 53? Oh, please. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Aloha, Jacob Winstead, excuse me, a lot of breath. Testifying in opposition to Bill 53, reimposing costly government mandates for parking minimums is counterproductive to affordable housing, and it'll drive up costs, and it'll drive out the hardworking middle-class families that we're trying to keep here in our city. Unfortunately, fortunately, over the last several years, the council has made significant progress reducing those regulatory burdens we all face. And this bill, unfortunately, would reverse a lot of that progress. I urge the council and this committee to defer this bill and make changes to it so that way it doesn't reimpose costly top-down government mandates that drive up costs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other in-person testifiers wishing to testify on Bill 53? Okay. Clerks, are there any online registered testifiers?
Chair, yes, we have a bunch.
Okay, please proceed. Let's start with, why don't you go ahead and call it? Is Evan Oye there?
Testifier is not logged on, and Perry is not logged on also.
Okay.
We have Claire Santos.
Oh, okay, Ms. Santos, I see you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee. Claire Santos. I live in Huntsville Special District, where I purchased a condo in 1993. I'm about to see my life and lifestyle destroyed by a Bill 7 inappropriate construction. I wrote written testimony and stand by it. I added to Bill 53, which I strongly support, that punch bowl and all special district guidances be reinstated immediately. I am also adding that neighborhood assessment be done. We cannot stand alone on DPP's guidance for whether construction should occur. These projects need to not only fit in with the community, they need to not present a safety, security, and standard of living detriments, which is what a particular 1617 Alapa'i Street is very destructive to the neighborhood and community. A 53-unit no parking tower on a dead-end street that is only 16 feet wide and only 7 parking stalls on the street, already in use by the entire neighborhood. We need to think this through. We can't just give carte blanche to developers. Their profit margins are not my problem. We need to do right by the communities for the long term. And most of us have 2 and 3 jobs we need to get to, and there's no bus service up there, no jobs up there. Where are these people going to park to get to all their jobs? We need to think things through. So I do ask this committee again, include a punch bowl, all special district guidance reinstatement and a neighborhood assessment be done for the appropriateness of the construction in particular areas. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee.
Thank you, Ms. Santos. Your points are well received. Ms. Roseanne Freitas, please, from BIA.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. And I'm with the Roseanne Freitas with the BIA Hawaii, and I stand by our written testimony. Thank you.
And your written testimony is in support or opposition, Ms. Freitas?
We are in opposition of Bill 53 because it will add to the cost of a home, and we already have an affordability issue.
Thank you so much. Can we please have Susan Lee?
Aloha, Chair Tupola. I'm providing testimony on behalf of Hawaii Appleseed, and we strongly oppose Bill 53. Again, by reinstating the parking mandates and introducing new layers of discretionary review, it'll undermine all the work of Bill 7, which is meant to accelerate the production of affordable rental housing. I echo some of the previous testimonies that have been said. Again, we're looking at adding an additional $400 per month in rent for these parking units, as well as an addition within each unit is $68,000 per stall to install. Again, with our housing shortage, Honolulu looking at a shortage of about 25,000 units. The production of housing is the most critical thing we can do right now. As well, adding a discretionary process with neighborhood reviews has been shown to really delay projects, so much so that it makes it financially infeasible for even nonprofit developers, and stopping, again, the production of housing that is desperately needed and forcing people to be in an incredibly competitive market that they cannot afford to be in.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lee, for your testimony. Are there any other unregistered testifiers online wishing to testify? Please just use the raise hand feature.
Chair, no one else raised their hands.
Okay, thank you very much. Last call, are there any testifiers deep down in your heart wanting to say something? No? Okay, just making sure. I do want to give some time to the introducer of the bill, and then I'm going to ask some questions to the department. Members, we are in discussion, so go ahead, Councilmember Nishimoto.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Chair. And I appreciate your willingness to have this discussion. I introduced this bill for community members and for neighborhood board members. In my community, we've been the first round of Bill 7 projects, so we've experienced the good and the bad with these projects. The intent of this bill was to correct some of the community issues that have come up from my constituents. And again, I appreciate you willing to start this discussion. There's proposed Bill 7 projects in all of our districts. So they're coming to everyone's district. And I anticipate the issues that will come up will be very similar to the ones that have come up in my district. So I think this is a good start to this discussion. And I hope we can build upon this discussion. But it really is the starting point of us talking about the good and the bad of Bill 7 projects from the experience of community members who have them in their neighborhoods now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Council members, any other points of discussion before I ask questions? Go ahead.
Oh, you're going to ask questions first, Chair?
I was going to
Okay,
ask
you
some
go
of the
ahead.
department's
You-
questions. Is DPP here? Thank you. Director, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being attentive and also for prior meeting with some of the community members from Councilmember Nishimoto's district. When we spoke, one of the things you said was that maybe there are some amendments that need to be made on Bill 7. To date, Chapter 32, AKA Bill 7, has there been any amendments to the law proposed as thus far?
No.
Okay. And I think, when was it launched, just so we can give people background? How many years has Bill 7 kind of been going?
I think it was 2019 or so.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't.
No, it's fine. I'm sure Gina Thielen is like saying the answer right now. 2019? Yep, thank you. So 2019 till now, fairly new. And I remember when I first got in 2021, I mean, we were like 3 projects with permits. Nobody was coming out. And now, how many projects, Director?
So currently there are 58 total projects. 30 are currently within DPP in the building permit process under review. So 30 are with the applicant, 9 are with DPP today. Those that are issued there's 15 and 4 have received COs, certificates of occupancy. So a total of 58 projects. So.
Okay, so to reiterate, 58 total projects, 9 of those are with DPP being reviewed, 30 are with the applicant, 15 permits have been issued, and 4 with the certificate of occupancy, meaning that people have moved into the Bill 7 project, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. By chance, do you have a breakdown of what Bill 7 projects are in what districts? I know I don't have any in my district, but...
That's a good question. No, I don't, but we can get that information for you.
Yeah, I do think the majority are in Councilmember Nishimoto's district. Am I wrong?
Probably. It's apartment zoned areas, so most likely in Councilmember Nishimoto's.
In brief, we don't need to be lengthy, but in brief, for Bill 7 projects, is it maximum area 20,000? Is that what it is? Maximum lot area is 20,000 square feet. Is that sound?
I believe so. Sorry.
And then you said it's only for apartment mix zoning.
Apartment zoned areas.
Apartment zone areas.
Yeah.
So I know that Councilmember Dos Santos Tam might have 1 or 2, right? I think.
I have several.
Oh, you have several.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think from what I've heard, it's kind of there are 2 areas. I need to ask some further questions. One of the suggestions on this bill was that there be a resident manager. People are concerned that there is a little bit of, who addresses what concern at these locations. What is your thoughts on that part of the bill?
I mean, I think it makes sense as far as impacts from tenants, but that would be difficult under Bill 7 because it is a building permit. And
building permits do not specify resident managers.
Right.
Where in the law would that be located, if it was located anywhere for these specific projects?
Just guessing, maybe in the land use ordinance. Maybe, yeah.
One of the concerns was that if we change the parking requirement, that it may be a zoning ordinance and have to go to the Land Use Commission. Is that true?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll save that question for later. On the very first page of the bill, it suggests that these go through neighborhood board. I didn't hear one person complain about that. Is that something that we can require? And again, neighborhood boards don't yay or nay, and that's not even just for Bill 7. That's on other projects too. Most of them have to present and then kind of just, work to be good community members. What do you think about that portion of the bill?
Again, because it's a building permit, ministerial permit, I'm not sure how that factors into the overall building permit, right? And then who would manage that? Who would ensure that that happens? And how we would kind of calculate that into an overall approval. But I think, when it's a ministerial building permit, you don't have these, community meetings or neighborhood board meeting requirements.
It's like a by right build, meaning that you get the permit, you build, correct?
That's right.
Okay. I was bringing those two up because mainly a lot of the testimony was about parking, but the other two things that Councilmember Nishimoto brought up, which I thought were good, was the resident manager and the neighborhood board. Even just a review, even just like a, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, it doesn't have to be a yes or no vote. I just think that it's meaningful to be in a community and then make something that's for the community, because then people feel like they have ownership. There's just so much benefit, I think, to get people to buy in.
Right. I think that's reasonable.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions for our DPP Director? Go ahead, Councilmember Weyer, and then Councilmember Cordero.
Mahalo, Chair. And just briefly, because I do appreciate all the, the concerns that have been brought up by the community, and did have the opportunity to sit down with the group last year to kind of talk through some of the issues. And so I do respect that. And I think in my mind, there's a lot of impacts for maybe particular projects or how certain individuals behave that maybe speak to other ways to engage with residents, or, say, having more monitoring from HPD in particular areas if there's a concern with like drug activity or other stuff. But when we're coming to the structure of the program, I'm just curious, because I do have one in Wahiawa that's great, but we do have parking. But my understanding is if you're in the primary urban center, like what is the general parking requirement, minimum requirement for housing?
I don't think there is a requirement for parking.
Okay, because that's, I guess, kind of my concern with this bill too, is that we'd actually be imposing a stricter requirement for affordable units or trying to incentivize than actually exists in the urban core. And so that was just one thing I wanted to confirm. But yeah, I would agree. I think there's maybe other opportunities to do engagement to ensure that community voices can be brought into the project without trying to restructure the entire program that's going to affect units in town, Pro City, Wahiawa, wherever they end up. So appreciate the work you're doing, Chair. Mahalo.
Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Director, this is in alignment with Chair Tupola's query relating to amending the development standards. Are we able to amend the development standards without amending through resolution, then as a bill, the land use ordinance?
I'm not sure. I mean, that's a good question, because when Bill 7 itself was passed, I don't think it went through Planning Commission. I think it's kind of an outside of the land use ordinance, but I need to get more information to be sure if that process would be required or not. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's my main question for that.
That is a good question. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for Department of Planning and Permitting? Okay, I have one question for Department of Housing and Land Management. I do think that written in the law, there is no stringency as stated by the director about parking, but seeing as though these are in deeply dense areas where there is no on-street, and luckily Councilmember Weyer has parking at his, but it's not always, going to be available. What solutions could the city propose that would help with this?
I'd be happy to go back and research that, and I, again, appreciate Councilmember Nishimoto for raising this. I think a discussion about it and a revisiting of Bill 7 is timely, and would definitely be happy to include that in the analysis. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I do know that a lot of thought went into the initial passage of the bill. The thinking was that parking minimums are set by a decision about what the market wants. So if people are willing to purchase units that don't have parking, then that means that there's a market for the units and people can use mass transit, and we want to promote mass transit. So that was the thinking. But perhaps there are ways to tweak it, and I'd be happy to explore that.
Yeah, I think actually studying how many people actually need parking but still buy a unit would be a good point of information to know. As Director stated, we only have 4 that have certificate of occupancies. So that would be something good that you guys should analyze, so that if we do, because I do think we might need to make some changes to Bill 7 projects, of what kind I don't know yet. That would be interesting to know. Secondly, if there are Bill 7 projects in an area where the city has land, maybe the city should build a parking lot. Maybe they should build a parking structure to help out, so that it's not on the developer to do it. Just a thought, creative thought. So I do think that in general, when we're stating that people should take mass transit, I would like to know of these projects, how many of them have an easy bus line that's right near it? We don't know that. So we're assuming, oh yeah, you guys can catch bus, but how do we know? So if you could come back with any of that information, because as stated earlier, possibly adding the parking onto this may not be a provision that is allowable for this project because of the zoning that already doesn't require that. However, the points that people are making are valid, because these are a significant amount of units in areas that don't have that kind of wiggle room of extra parking spaces. So thank you. Thank you for being willing to do a little bit of more work on that.
Happy to. Mahalo.
Okay, Councilmember Nishimoto, anything else? Anything? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I do want to thank Councilmember Nishimoto for bringing this bill up and having this discussion, because discussion about a program is necessary. I do support and understand the ability to have further discussions with the pre-application before the neighborhood board. But I think that's as much as I can support the bill currently. I was looking at amendments for maybe looking at projects within TOD zones, but I wanted to have this discussion first. I know that the parking minimums are set in place, and I know that the different projects that this council has seen in the past 5 years, and even just recently, a year ago at Kapiolani and Keamoku, we asked for less parking and to have the ability to have more units, because we knew that parking costs more than even fabricating new units. And so those concerns are, once again, valid, but I do know that the ability to address parking, as one testifier mentioned, that they have multiple jobs, people have multiple jobs where there are no bus lines or routes to those areas. And so I think it's less of a failure on the ability to provide parking, but the failure to support public transit in these communities. So I want to note that while there are parking concerns in those areas, that we need to look at other ways we can address those possible parking concerns. And so with that, I can't support adding more parking for these projects, as well as looking, and if I were to make it workable, which I don't have any proposed amendments at the moment, but as I mentioned, looking at maybe exempting TOD zones, which my district does hug a lot of that, then I would possibly look at supporting this bill, also with reducing the amount of parking at projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Spoken like the transportation chair. I do think that that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about solutions that are out of the box, that can really be helpful, not just, proposing that things cost more, because there are ways around it. I do believe that there are ways around it. Councilmember Nishimoto, this is what I'm going to suggest, because luckily I just met with your community yesterday. It is the first time that I was like, whoa, this is serious. And so I just want to say to all the community members that met with me, I think they met with Councilmember Weyer as well, that we're listening. And I do think that I have proposed amendments. I'll say verbally what I'm thinking, but then I think between this hearing and the next one, I'm going to have to work with you on this. I am thinking that the neighborhood board part is not hugely onerous, and I don't think it's bad. So I do think we should try to carry that over. Whether or not this exists here or a different part, I'm going to see if we can incorporate that. I think having community members be excited about a project in their neighborhood and not feel forced to have it is going to be positive, even for people who are building, because they want to be good neighbors. So I think that's the way to be a good neighbor. I'm going to relook at this resident manager. If it doesn't belong here, I think we can try to figure out where it does belong. I will say that I have various projects like this, not Bill 7, but various low-income projects that I really can't work without a resident manager because so much happens on the property. And then I'll talk through other solutions for for the parking. So this is my suggestion, and Councilmember Nishimoto, you tell me what you think. I want time to work on an actual CD that everyone can read, that we can all look at and see if we feel good about it. I'm gonna take into consideration what everyone said, but I'm the kind of person, I need it written, I need to see it, I want everyone to read it as well. I want the community members to read it so that they can see what we're thinking. I don't wanna do a verbal amendment on something that I really think is important, and it'll be the very first edits we ever do to Bill 7, which I think should be well vetted out. So Councilmember Nishimoto, is it okay if I hold it and work on it for a little bit?
I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you very much. Council members, thanks for all your input. I wanted this discussion, so I appreciate everyone coming prepared to talk about this. It is my recommendation that we postpone the passage of Bill 53 and that to a date and time further to be scheduled. So I'm not exactly sure when, because I'm hoping that we can actually work on this and have something ready for the next hearing. Is there any reservations or objections to that suggestion? No? Okay, so Bill 53 will be held in committee, and we'll talk about this again when we have a CD. Thank you. Moving on to our first informational briefing. Thank you for everyone who waited. We are going to be doing the MΑ'ILI wildfire response and recovery. With us, we have Director Collins from the Department of Emergency Management, who does have a slide presentation. Okay, if you guys have it in front of you, it's Department Communications 640. For those of you online, it'll be on your screen. Go ahead, Director.
On July 6, 2025, during a holiday weekend, fire broke out in MΑ'ILI. It spread fast, it threatened lives, homes, and an entire community. But within minutes, City and County of Honolulu responders took action. What happened that day is not just a fire response story. It's a story of teamwork, bias for action, and initiative. In this photo, you see police officers holding a fire hose over a fence to support firefighters. That wasn't a staged moment. It was unity of effort. It was a decision made by professionals who understand they are part of one team. They work together, unified, communicating, adjusting in real time. That's what saved lives in MA'ILI. When the fire broke out, HPD officers didn't pause. They didn't wait. They recognized the threat. They went door to door evacuating residents, not because someone told them to, but because they saw lives at risk. No checklist, no delay, no standard operating procedure, just action. Same with our DEM staff. When a request was received from HFD for public alert and warning, within 21 minutes, the wireless emergency alert went out. They didn't wait for approval, they understood the risk and the danger, and they made a decision. That decision saved time, that time saved lives. The same was true for activating the Emergency Operations Center. Department of Emergency Management staff did it in the absence and specific instruction because they knew support and coordination needed to be done in support of HFD. No one told them to, they saw the need and took responsibility. That kind of decision-making only works in organizations built on trust and clarity. Of course, every major response is messy. There are always room for improvement. There's always confusion. Things never go according to plan. But what sets us apart is how we move through the chaos. What sets us apart is communicating issues and the decisions and pivoting in support of one another. You don't build that kind of cohesion during the disaster. You build it on blue sky days through planning, through training, and through relationships. When black skies come, you don't have to figure out you don't have to figure each other out. You need to trust the person next to you. That's what we saw in MA'ILI. The City and County of Honolulu doesn't wait for someone else to act. We don't wait for instructions from the top. When there's a threat, we respond with initiative, with bias for action as one team. That's how we protect lives, livelihoods, and the quality of life on this island. As you can see by this timeline of the first 90 minutes, with a focus on that golden hour, the first hour of response, HFD and HPD responded swiftly and didn't delay as they immediately identified lives and structures were at risk. HFD began immediately to size up and begin operations to contain or stabilize the incident, while HPD began their door-to-door immediate evacuation. In just 34 minutes, an emergency operations center activation was initiated, and in 21 minutes from the evacuation alert request, the wireless emergency alert was issued. We have identified areas for improvement. We do believe that the Department of Emergency Management establishing a 24/7 watch office at the JTMC will reduce vulnerabilities in the alert and warning system and shorten the time frame in which an alert may be issued. In support of alert and warning, we hope to make sure all incident commander level responders understand the information DEM needs to issue alerts so that future alerts are better streamlined. Good incident management practices are the best option for bringing order to chaos. We believe that more assertive activation of an incident management team will support incident management in the future, which will also help with better aligning emergency responders within a unified command post. We were able to share incident information with the HPD drone to various responders and the Emergency Operations Center. We believe there is an opportunity to integrate technologies, especially as AI and other modern technologies are developed to support incident response. And additionally, communications can be improved to support an improved information transfer between the field and the Emergency Operations Center. And lastly, we need to be more aware of the impact that such incidents have on the local community and ensure that we can reasonably support community recovery and restoration to the devastating impacts upon a community. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Howe, who's going to discuss the fire operations on scene that day.
Thank you, Director. Aloha, Chief Howe.
Aloha, good afternoon. Vice Chair Tupola, council members. Fire Chief Kalani Hall with the Honolulu Fire Department. Joining me today is Battalion Chief Keith Ito, and we try to do our best. And we're going to have a map that we're going to be sharing, so he's going to hopefully help me navigate through that. So I want to start by thanking you guys for the opportunity to allow us to share what our role was in this incident, and also to basically highlight the efforts and coordination with all responding agencies. So. First, I'm going to start off with a little incident information, go over that and some of the conditions that were present, and finally we're going to go over to a map just so you can see the amount of where all of our assets were when we responded to the fire. So again, date was July 6th at 2:33. Alarm came in at Pa'akea Road. Our first arriving unit arrived at 2:42 p.m. Just real high level again. We didn't hit 100% containment until early in the morning on the next day. But the last unit to leave is actually at 9 o'clock at night on July 7th. So we're there over the night through to the next day. Total acreage burned, approximately 55 acres. We had, unfortunately, one victim that we found that she was responsive at the time. We handed off her to EMS, who later we found out that she ended up passing away. So also property damage. There were 2 residential structures, a lot of secondary structures like sheds, a lot of shipping containers, and a lot of vehicles on one of the sites. And also, just to kind of give you a scope of our firefighting incidents, we had a lot of HFD assets, about 26, and 8 federal units for a total of 34. Just to kind of give you a scope, that's approximately for HFD within a 35 to 40% of our fire response. So you can kind of see the effort that it took and the response down in that area. You can go to the next page. With wildland response, there's three critical factors that play a significant role in fire spread. We have our weather, our fuel, and our topography. Weather at the time, according to the Makaha sensors, was reading about 5 to 15 miles an hour with gusts up to 25. But per our personnel on the ground, per their visual observation of the smoke and how it was behaving and reading the smoke, we believe at that moment of the fire where it started was more in the 20 to 30 mile an hour sustained winds, which significantly contributed to fire spread. Temperatures were warm, summertime between 75 and 85. Relative humidity was pretty good, between 65 and 75%. With red flag warning, it sets off at less than 45 is more of a critical area. So we weren't really down in that critical relative humidity. There's also no precipitation at the time. The fuel, it was dry. Out in that west side, it's dry. So topography, in this case, relatively flat, some slight elevation changes. So it was more of a weather and a fuel driven factors. Next slide. Sorry, the map is a little small, and I hope that you guys can follow along with whatever printed document that you have. And Chief Ito will try his best to use the mouse to kind of hover over on the screen where you can kind of see where I'm talking about. So again, you can see that kind of has a border. The top is Pa'akea Road. Below that on the bottom, going across from left to right at the bottom is Kaukamana Road. And to the right of the page is Maliona Street. So that's more the area in question. So if you look at where the verbiage on Pa'akea Road, can you hover over where this is where the origin of the fire was. If you look at where the mouse is hovered over, right between the Pa'akea Road and I guess where it's the command, or Pa'akea command, right between those two labels. Wind conditions were variable, but it was relatively moving Makai and towards the east. So if you can kind of show the direction with the mouse travel. First arriving units arrived at the residence. You can see on the left side of the screen, that's where our first arriving units arrived at 2:42 p.m. And immediate fire conditions were already against that structure at the top of the driveway, and also was coming down on those two residential structures right below where you see all that yellow fire apparatus. So our incident priority is always for life. And at that point, they realized that there were families in those two residences needing evacuation, approximately eight individuals. So their priorities were to defend that egress so they can exit through Pa'akea Road. So at that point, they were performing two tasks, fire control or defending along that road, and helping those residents leave. So actually the house that is more Makai, their exit was actually going down towards Kaukamana Road, but the fire already had made its way down from the origin point at Pa'akea Road and was already bypassing and getting down and blocking off their exit. So our personnel had to actually go in and breach a fence between the two residents to kind of get them out. It's during that time that we were informed that the victim was located in that area more towards the center, where the Quonset hut was, directly to the east of where those two residents were. Access to that area, there's a fence and there's a wall, so they couldn't immediately access that area. There was still fire at the time and was already moving Makai. So our assets actually went down Pa'akea to Kaukamana to try and see if they could make access up to see if they could get to search where the victim possibly was. They tried to make access of the driveway, but they had to stop to address conditions where they weren't able to proceed up into the road. So as they were fighting the fire, then at that moment, our other firefighters came from the Mauka side after the fire had passed, and that's where they found her during that time. So at this point, based on the conditions, it started off as a wildland fire. So the fuel, normal vegetation. But with the wind conditions at the time and the direction of fire spread, in the middle of that photo is the Ahuna property. So at that point, a lot of embers, and then that's how we know fire spread with wildland happens. And so this is where it changed from a wildland fire to basically an urban conflagration, because there was a lot of equipment, containers, there's structures in there, there's a lot of just material fuels, a fuel change. So at that moment in time, that's when the intensity and everything rose a lot. So at that point, they realized, based off the assets that we had on hand, our priority shifted to more containment to ensure that the direction initially was coming down on the west Makai. That's where the fire was. So all our assets went down there to protect the Makai and west side, and they got that stopped. And then our strategies at that point was to start sending all of our units to contain on the top of Pa'akea Road and then along the eastern flank up Maliona Road. At some point in time during the incident, you know, as we were focusing more on containment than extinguishment into the center of this polygon. So as our staff went in and did an assessment of the structures within, as they went up, the house was already pretty much fully involved. It was supplied by propane tanks. So at that moment, we had to make a decision, right? Not to go ahead and extinguishment, but our strategy is more for containment. Because beyond Maliona Road, the potential for life risk at that moment was exceeding what was the property damage that would happen in the interior. So unfortunately, you know, there's some tough decisions we have to make. We have to triage and make these tough decisions to limited resources, and we have to do the best for the most people. And
Thank you, Chief.
so,
Real quick, the origin of it was what?
that origin became undetermined per our investigators. Through their investigative efforts in the beginning, looking at the area of origin, they found the area of origin, but there was not enough signs to definitively say exactly what started the fire. I know there's some information that possibly came in that they reconsidered. That's why it took a little while, and as I was speaking to you, that took a few more days to definitively come up with that. Our final determination is undetermined.
Thank you, Chief. You might get called up for more questions, but is it okay for us to move to HPD?
Sure.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you. And you guys all have the slides, so we're going to keep it high level. I know my committee members are hanging in there. Go ahead, HPD.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Neil Han. I'm the captain out of District 8 for the Honolulu Police Department. I was also the incident commander the day of the MΑ'ILI fire. So first of all the credit has to go to the boots on the ground officers. And obviously all the firefighters, they did all the dirty work that day. They did what was necessary, needed to be done to complete the mission. So all the credit should go to them. With that being said, just to give you a little background regarding what happened that day regarding HPD officers. HPD officers got deployed to the fire at around 14:33 hours. Officers recognized that people's residence and lives were in danger, so they initiated evacuation on their own, which is a kudos to them because they did save lives that day. So they initiated the evacuation on their own and started doing traffic posts and security support for HFD's arrival. Once HFD arrived on scene, their main purpose was that traffic control and safety support for residents and also to the firefighters on scene. Okay, so we locked down Kaumakana Road from MΑ'ILI Road all the way to St. John's Road, everything Mauka of that. It started off a little bit more Mauka, but that was kind of like a hard line. So we blocked off all traffic in that area. So with that being said, knowing that other assets are coming, EMS, more firefighters, more police officers, within an hour, HPD set up a command post at MA'ILI Beach Park, where everybody was able to gather together and start coordinating assets in a way to assist the firefighters on scene. Communications were set up, and it was relayed to HFD that if there's any support they need, they can relay it to us over the police radios or the shared channels. So with that being said, when we do evacuations, we gotta now talk about expanding police roles. We're talking about other traffic duties. We gotta send officers to evacuation sites and so forth. So those were all coordinated with the EOC and the Department of Emergency Management. One of the good things that was done at the command post was HPD set up an internal incident management team to start documenting everything that's going on at the command post. It was really great because it actually became an area or a source of information for a lot of people, and it was a way to coordinate all the assets that are helping out with the situation. Obviously, I can talk about a lot of things that went well, but some of the things internally, being out on the field with the guys, some of the things we're gonna work on internally. One, we have to continue to work with the interagency communication with EMS, fire, Department of Emergency Management, and so forth. And obviously there's a lot of other agencies, but I'm not gonna ramble all of that. Another thing we're gonna work on is working with our immediate supervisors, prioritizing their work. We all know boots on the ground officers need direction, yeah? And that starts with training our immediate supervisors that are on scene to understanding priorities of work and what they need to do from the time the call comes in to 30, 40 minutes until the reinforcements can arrive. And another thing we're probably gonna work on is PPEs for our officers. They inhaled a lot of smoke that day, right? So we gotta start working on that internally as a department as a whole. Other than that, like I mentioned before, kudos need to go to not just the firefighters, but also the officers on the ground, yeah? Because they truly did all the work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain Han, and thank you for the points of improvement that you guys will be working on. EMS, please.
Thank you.
My apologies, Council. Is this on? My apologies, Council Member. We have an active incident going on right now, and so I think EMS has been pulled away. These types of incidents are extremely complex and require numerous organizations to support the operations. But with the addition of every organization, it also adds to the level of complexity that we have. So I'd just like to thank these 11 organizations for the role they played that day. And then, as mentioned before, the Department of Emergency Management received the request to notify residents of the need for evacuation of the area. 20 minutes later, DEM pressed the button on an alert that went to all radio and TV stations and to all phones using a federal system called wireless emergency alerts to the area identified in that photo there. Additional information was published regularly over our H&L alert system. In total, I believe we sent out 8 emergency messages using our H&L alert system, as well as the original evacuation using the wireless emergency alert. I do want to take a moment to strongly encourage all residents to sign up for H&L alerts. Go to hnlalert.gov to sign up. This is by far our best and most effective way for the city and county of Honolulu to get people the critical information they need during times of disaster. We do rely on a system of systems when it comes to emergency alerting as depicted here. Again, H&L Alerts is the system we own and have the most control and capability of. I also encourage everyone to follow us on our social media platforms. You can also see that we will utilize systems we do not own, but we are the end users of such systems. One is the emergency alert system, one is the wireless emergency alerts, and the other is the outdoor warning sirens, which are intended for outdoor warning only and designed to get your attention and pursue more information via other methods like H&L Alert or traditional media sources. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to mention the Emergency Management Reserve Corps. These are hard-charging volunteers that we have. They are instrumental in relieving traffic duties from our police officers and provide several other services to DEM. They were requested by DEM at 8 p.m. and stood post, enabling HPD units to support fire operations in other ways or release them to continue their crime-fighting mission. This group saves Honolulu thousands of dollars year over year. Finally, as the Director of Emergency Management, I'd like to recognize all the responders to this incident. Major kudos to HFD. The incident could have been significantly worse if it wasn't for their quick action in containing the blaze. HPD and ESD did an amazing job supporting operations from the field and in the OC. It reflected the highest professionalism within the public safety environment. Mahalo, and we're open for questions as well.
Thank you. We're going to proceed forward to the next couple ones, and then we'll summarize at the end. We do have with us a Hawaiian Electric Company, Mr. Jim Kelly. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Tupola. Oh, jeez. Sorry. I wanted to also recognize Vice Chair Talbot.
We all want to recognize him.
Yeah.
Hey, Augie. Okay.
Council members, thanks for asking us here today. Our role on July 6th was really one of support. Quickly around 2:30, one of our Alert West cameras, we have 45 of those posted around the island, we saw the smoke was very quickly after that Department of Emergency Management asked us if we could send personnel out there to see if there's a way, and the fire department as well, work to ensure that none of our operations get in the way of firefighting operations. We de-energized one of the circuits in the area, about 32 houses that were in the path of the smoke and the fire. Those houses were without power for about 24 hours. 2 of those homes, as you heard, were destroyed. Essentially, our role was to be there and support, and we had personnel there over the course of the incident to assist with the fire department as they need. And as was mentioned earlier, it's similar to situation right now in Kunia, where we were asked already to shut off power. It's going to affect about 200 customers right now while they're going about their firefighting duties. So any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, we'll take them at the end. Thank you so much,
Thanks for
Mr.
having
Kelly. Let's move on to Hawaii State Department of Education. I believe we have Mr. Ken Kakesako. Or not. They're both looking at each other. Did I say it wrong? I apologize. I do know you guys are here from DOE, though. Welcome, welcome.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Tupola and council members. I'm Max Mendoza. I'm the Director of the Safety, Security, Emergency Preparedness Branch for the Department of Education. Our primary role in incidents like this is to assist the county in sheltering and all. And much of those activities happen when the City and County Department of Emergency Management activates their Emergency Operations Center. Once they activate their EOC, many representatives such as the DOE, American Red Cross, and Parks and Recreation goes to the EOC, and that's where a lot of the coordination between those agencies and us determine which schools are going to be opened and used as shelters. So that's the type of coordination that happens. In this instance, Waianae Intermediate School was used as a shelter. It opened, and initially we had approximately 40 vehicles that use the parking lots, and they stayed there, as well as opening up of restrooms. When evacuees did arrive at the school, we had approximately 30 evacuees that were housed in the cafeteria, and they basically stayed there until they were able to leave. The shelter, Waianae Intermediate School, remained open overnight due to an individual that had to stay there. Nevertheless, the school continued on with summer school operations to include breakfast and lunch being served. So everything worked out well, and it didn't impede any type of school operations or supporting the students, and at the same time, supporting the community as well. In terms of facility readiness and future shelter planning, we always partner with HIEMA, DAGS, and Department of Emergency Management with shelter retrofitting type of efforts. A lot of that is coordinated with the engineers. Obviously, funding is an issue, but we continue to help out with that. We also help the Department of Emergency Management maintain information on schools that may serve as evacuation shelters for any type of hazard that may happen, whether it's tsunami, flood, wildfire, et cetera. Also, for the past 2.5 years, we've partnered with the City and County Department of Emergency Management with a bunch of best available refuge area assessments in determining other shelters out there during hurricanes and other hazards. And pending any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mendoza. We'll take questions at the end.
Okay,
Finally, for the presentations, we do have Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. Thank you for being here, and we can also keep this high level. Thank you, committee members, for hanging on. I appreciate it.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to present today. I am Erin Conway. You all have a copy of my slides, hopefully. I'm here to represent Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. We are a Hawaii-based nonprofit with over 25 years experience in wildfire prevention, mitigation, education, and outreach. And I'm here to briefly discuss wildland urban fires, community readiness, and then focus on our FireWise program. So we all know that wildland fire threats are increasing, especially in Hawaii and those living in the wildland urban interface areas. But the good thing is that there are actions we can take to prevent these fires from really destroying our community. that we've seen in the past. So the fire history of Hawaii is that we're becoming more fire prone due to a mix of human activity, climate, and unmanaged vegetation. But like I said, we do have a change on these fire outcomes. And so I put some materials on the table today. Please feel free to grab that on your way out. It's our Ready, Set, Go guide, and then how to become FireWise if you're interested in your community participating in that. So quickly, I'm going to briefly talk about owning your zones, which was briefly mentioned by the fire department before. So the most effective ways to eliminate the wildfire risks in our communities are by doing simple actions that we can all take. You could even start today when you get home. So things we suggest are clearing leaves and debris from our roofs, gutters, and any entry places to our homes. We need to trim trees and vegetation, keep grass short and green, and then make sure that we plant trees and any shrubbery far enough apart to create a fire break. Next, we want to store flammable items away from our homes. And then, when each household owns their zone, the entire community will become more fire adapted and resilient. Perfect. And so it's okay. So this Ready, Set, Go, I put a couple copies on the side. This is our brief description on how to prepare before a fire occurs, what to do during the fire, and then when to evacuate early and what to prepare yourself with. Next slide, please. And then you can skip that one. Perfect. And then like I said, we can change these fire outcomes, and we're going to start that in our homes with our families and in our communities. So this is the home ignition zone concept. We're going to start at our home, the 0 to 5 feet around it, and then extend out into the 5 to 30 foot zone, and then into the 30 to 100. And then in the next slide that you're going to see right here, you can see that when you make these actions around your home, you're actually also helping your neighbors and communities as well. So the FireWise program really is a community approach. And like I said, so FireWise is a framework to provide residents and their communities with ideas and direction to help with the ignition resistance of their communities. Perfect. So we are hosted under the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association. We work together with DLNR DOFA and HWMO to administer this program in the state. We have 35 FireWise states currently and over 16 in the process, and then you can see 3 on the west side of Oahu currently. And then quickly, how to become FireWise. I also put some pamphlets there that have more details, but first you're going to need to have 3 community leaders that are willing to step up to the plate and be responsible for these actions. And then you're going to reach out to us, and we will come out to do a hazard assessment with the fire department and DLNR as well. We will complete a report that takes about 4 to 6 weeks and return this to you. And it is recommendations and suggestions. We're not going to tell you what to do. We're just going to educate you on what could help your home and community during these wildland fires. Next, so you're going to host a minimum of 1 educational event a year. And then you're going to need to reach your volunteer efforts, which is 1 volunteer hour for homes in your community. And then, so we can briefly look at the FireWise concept, which is owning our zones, hardening our homes, being ember aware, thinking lean, clean, and green, and then building a buffer. And then if we want to replace anything in our homes, we do refer you to Pacific Fire Exchange and then plantpono.org. And these are just some education and outreach projects that have happened in our community. One I just wanted to mention is the evacuation drill practice. This is really important because everybody says you need to have a plan in place, but you also want to make sure that that plan works and that there aren't any unexpected things that happen in that. And then lastly, these are the community mitigation projects that you'll need to complete if you are going to be a FireWise community. And it can be cleaning up your community or just a common space work days where you're cleaning fuels in and around the community. And then FireWise, it's going to help your home, but also going to help your entire community, the more neighbors that you get on board with you. And then lastly, thank you for your time. Feel free to reach out, and you can go to our website, hawaiiwildfiremanagement.org, and then you can reach out to us if you have any questions, would like to get a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being fast with that. We wanted to provide this so that community members know what they can do personally. My neighborhood is doing ours on Saturday, so we're cleaning up. And after the wildfire happened, 6 more communities in Waianae are now doing this because of how much acreage was burned and how many people thought that, you know, as a community, we could do more. So with that being said, that concludes the presentations. I'm not gonna take questions now. Let's go straight to testimony. Are there any in-person testifiers wishing to testify? Representative Muraoka? Nope. Sorry, Representative Muraoka, thank you.
You know, I didn't want to testify on this, but I will offer some comments. You know, with everything that was said earlier, I do want to point out that there was some tremendous community involvement with the likes of local construction companies offering their water trucks, their heavy equipment to clear the fence lines, to help the fire department get to areas that they needed to get to, as well as cutting fire breaks. So gentlemen like Chad Wilderman and Sean Souza, who was on the mini excavator with nothing but a face mask and his asthma pump to help assist. So, you know, I just wanted to call out those unsung heroes, yeah? Those are the community just getting involved.
Thank you so much, Rep. Muraoka. I appreciate that, and I appreciate all your help in the community. Any other in-person testifiers wishing to testify on this presentation? Go ahead, Angela.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young testifying. Wishing to comment on the presentation. Yeah, thank you so much for that team to help out in the community. And so one of the puppy rescues I work with, Hina's Legacy, was rescuing in the community. Beyond what the Humane Society could prepare for. And so for, you know, the next evacuation and wildfire recovery events, I actually would like to hear more about financial assistance for communities. So for example, like FEMA individual assistance for personal property replacement, and also perhaps like small businesses that have damage, and then perhaps the Small Business Administration from the federal level can offer disaster loans to help with recovery costs, or Department of Agriculture providing loans and grants for farmers and ranchers that have been affected by wildfires for like emergency loans and like replacing essential property. And also one last thing is to determine the fire, you could possibly need a trained canine team. And you only have one puppy, I think, on the fire squad that works.
Thank you so much, Angela.
In detecting
Appreciate
the
it.
accelerant.
Clerks, are there any online testifiers wishing to testify?
Chair, no registered testifiers.
Are there any online testifiers unregistered that would like to testify? You can use the raise hand feature.
No hands. Oh, Representative Kila.
Okay. Go ahead, Rep. Kila.
Hello, council member. Sorry if I'm coming on too late, but I did have a question. Did HPD comment on the incident command on the activation of the Waianae Coast emergency access routes as it related to both the MΑ'ILI and Nanakuli wildfire by chance?
Typically, we don't allow this, but I will. Why don't you go ahead and mute? HPD, can you comment on that? Did you hear the question? It was about the access routes.
Thank you for the question. The access roads were considered, but based on where the fire was, the only accessible road that would probably be in relation to this would have been the Pakeke bypass roads. But that was kind of even that out of play regarding where the initial fire was. So that's why it was taken into consideration, but it truly wouldn't have helped the situation because the evacuation would have been held going Makai, not parallel to the mountain and so forth. As far as like the Nanakuli fire, where that fire was, if we had opened up the Palkea bypass, it would have kind of led people potentially into the fire. So that's why that wasn't taken into consideration when I was opening it.
Thank you, Captain Han. Rep. Kila, anything else?
I do want to just echo what Rep. Muraoka shared, is that there were so many unsung heroes that day, but I definitely look forward to learning more because I think given the fire situation and even the most recent tsunami evacuation, there needs to be just a little bit more collaboration because unlike other communities, I don't know if there was the, how do I say this? So our main artery is Farrington Highway, which is a DOT roadway. And just from my understanding, there was some missteps on trying to figure out how we were going to move traffic. But I do want to applaud the amount of officers that moved into the area throughout the island to help with the traffic response. But I think that was more so one of my just comments. But I'm just glad we were able to respond the way we do. But I just hope we can continue to have more exercises so we are prepared in the future. So mahalo, Councilmember.
Thank you so much, Rep. Tula. Appreciate it. I did send some questions over to the Department of Emergency Management, and due to time, I'm going to just rely on receiving those responses written, if that's okay, Director?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So for my community, this was very important. I hosted this hearing because at the neighborhood board, after this incident happened, just people were very anxious to get answers to a lot of these questions. Some of them had to do with who determined what alerts were sent out, what was the scope area. I mean, we saw the map, but there are people that lived around that area that didn't receive notifications, that were wondering how the, I guess, size was determined. Other questions about over-warning people versus under-warning people. So the Director of Department of Emergency Management will get these answers to us, and I will convey those to the community. And I'll go to Councilmember Weyer for further questions, especially because you have something going on right now.
No, thank you, Jared. That's all I was going to ask, since we have the EM Director here, was just what the most recent update is. Is he?
Director Collins, he's asking for an update on the current fire in Kunia.
Or I'll defer to Chief Hao too, so I'll let you folks.
Apologize, I was actually trying to figure that out myself. So as I've been up here, I've been getting, my phone has been blowing up. So I know that we have done an evacuation for the Kunia Road area and the Kunia camp and the Head Start school that's there. And my understanding at this time is that all air assets that are available to us have been engaged and are being used to also fight the fire, and that we believe that the fire is heading into a DLNR area that we're trying to just get the fire out at this time, though.
Thank you, Director. Chief Howell, any further? Nope. Good. So thank you so much. We are praying for safety in that area where the fire is currently happening. We thank all of our first responders, DOE, HECO for being here. We appreciate you guys sharing that we are all, trying to work together. With that being said, of course, things could be better, and we're going to always try to improve every time an incident happens. So thank you very much. We'll be concluding that. Committee members, thank you very, very much for hanging on, because we got one more presentation. Stand up, stretch out if you need to.
Just real quick, I just wanted to say thank you. This is very informative. I hope that people watching will share.
Yes.
Because very, very informative, that in case something happens like this in our community. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Okay, last presentation. We have with us the informational briefing, agenda item number 15, KALAELOA Parklands interim dirt track status and community considerations. Director Thielen.
Thank you, council members. I have some staff with me who are going to help with the presentation, and then also a community volunteer. So first off is going to be Kimberly Rebellia Collins, who is the administrator of our Executive Services Division. That includes the long-range planning and property management. And what Kimberly's going to do is give an overview of what the Department of Parks and Recreation is taking the lead on. So a little bit of background about how the property was acquired. And then thanks to the council's support and the mayor's support, we have funded a master planning process, which will include the environmental assessment. So Kimberly will walk you through what we're doing. We also are working with the community, and that effort is being led by Lee Cobian, to take a look at an interim use of one of the parcels of property that can take place during the planning process while we identify the long-range plans and the capital improvements. So Lee Cobian will be following Kimberly Rebellia Collins to talk a bit about that community-led interim process.
Thank you so much. For those who are tuning in, Department Communications 633, and Ms. Rebellia, if you could keep it high level so we can move along. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, council members. It's been a while since I've been in this chamber on this side of the aisle, but as director, I introduced myself, Kim Rebellia Collins. I'm the administrator for the Executive Services Division. My division is responsible for the long-range planning efforts that the department will embark in the future. So today we're just going to go over a quick timeline of the acquisition of the KALAELOA property, the overview of the current use, and kind of give you update on our long-range master plans plans that we have for the properties, and kind of go over also go over the temporary interim use that we had approved by the National Park Service agreement, and then kind of talk about the interim racetrack development from the park's perspective. So the brief timeline: in 1999, the city first applied for the acquisition of the parcel from the federal government. Along with the application, the department submitted a program of utilization with the National Park Service that outlined what park and recreation uses envisioned for the parcels during that time, and we have subsequently made one update in 2011. In the summer of 2016, the city received constructive possession of the land, which allowed for basic maintenance of the parcels. And in June of 2024 is when the city officially took ownership of the parcels, or the 400 acres of the former Navy Air Station Barber Point, for public park and public recreation. The transfer of the deeds served as a starting point when the city could start its long-term planning process to develop these areas, underutilized parcels, and start expending bond funds for capital improvements, which was key. We couldn't do anything until we owned the property. The next slide shows you the map of the area. The areas highlighted in blue are actually the parcels themselves. We have a small sliver in the town, well, I guess I'll call it the town, or the main street of KALAELOA, which we use for our DPR driver training program. And then we also have the front end by the park, the lower half by the ocean, and we have our KALAELOA Beach Park. We also have our campgrounds there. And the upper portion is the area, identify the larger parcels up there, and then we'll talk about one specific lot for the interim uses. Again, just to kind of go high level, the current use, right now we talked about it, the KALAELOA Beach Park. We do have that, it's a well-used beach park on the weekends, and we have 13 campsites, and we're excited, and we've asked for, and it was approved. We do have money in the CIP budget for upgrading and reopening of the comfort station, which includes the bathroom and the wastewater system. DPR's maintenance division and division of, or a section of community forest section, and our volunteer coordination staff currently partner with 808 cleanups to protect and activate the beach park, which include the installation of barriers to restrict illegal vehicular access to the beach. And we are also planning for future tree planting efforts in that area as well. And also this area is the KALAELOA properties are within the KALAELOA Community Development District, which is overseen by the State Hawaii Community Development Authority. And we have also participated in many planning meetings with this, or with HCDA, including discussions to ensure availability of infrastructure for future recreational uses, because that has very limited water and sewer lines. So we're working with them to make sure that whatever our long-term vision for that area, we have that adequate infrastructure in place, or just know where we have to put in some infrastructure. So the next slide we have here is just a map. You can see the parcels and the different ownerships of landowners in the HCDA area for KALAELOA. Now on to our long-range planning. First, I would like to talk about the master plan update. In this year's budget, we have DPR is in the process of drafting a solicitation for a consultant to assist the department in developing a master plan for the 7 properties referred to as KALAELOA Regional Park. The department anticipates the solicitation for a consultant to be issued first quarter of 2026 and encumber funds by the end of the fiscal year. So we have a consultant on track and selected, and then this is where the work starts at this point. So the master plan process will include an extensive community outreach component as well as an establishment of a community advisory group, which we think is very important for this process. A lot of land to determine the different types of recreational use, so we need a lot of input from our partners and especially the community. We also will make sure we do research and analysis of past, current, and future land use in that area. And we also are looking at developing a variety of recreational facilities, activities, and uses. So we'll be asking our consultant to take a look of what facilities and what uses are in the surrounding area and what we need the most. I.e., my example would be pools, where the nearest pool is compared to everywhere else. That's just one example. And then also we asked the consultant to help us develop the environmental assessment that is compliant with the National Environmental Policy Act. This will give the city the opportunity to be eligible for federal assistance programs to help fund KALAELOA future recreational development. So that's very key, that we can seek other sources of funding other than just our general fund money. And another key important aspect of the master plan is also to make sure that we are addressing archaeological, historic, and cultural assessments, ensuring that the siting of our recreational amenities, given the unique and special historic and cultural sites throughout the property, are preserved. So we want to be respectful of all of those unique qualities that we have over that 400 acres. The next plan that we'll be working on is, as we all know, KALAELOA parcels were under active military use for decades and contaminants were known to exist. That said, the Navy continues to work with the State Department of Health on mitigation plans to ensure these properties are suitable for recreational use. So again, with FY26 funds, the department is also in the process of drafting a solicitation for a consultant to assist the department to advise and provide technical support to the department on the Navy's ongoing investigations and remediations of these parcels. DPR does not have that technical expertise, so we need to have somebody on board to help guide us through that process. And we also anticipate the solicitation to be issued first quarter of 2026, and the selection of a consultant thereafter, and encumbering the funds by the end of the fiscal year. Now to the temporary interim uses. Of June of this year, the National Park Services, which oversees compliance with recreational restrictions on former Navy properties, authorized the interim use of lot 1360 for temporary motor sport facility, concurrent with the department moving forward with the master plan for KALAELOA. The parameters include using the lot up to 4 years or until the department's KALAELOA master plan is complete and groundwork on one or more of the planned improvements is prepared to proceed, whichever sooner. Clean dirt or fill to be brought onto the property to be used for informal motorized recreational activities. No permanent facility will be built or capital improvement funds to be used to support these activities. The temporary interim use also includes the track will be for informal motorized recreational activities and will not be used for professional, semi-professional, or exclusive use of any group. And it's the public utility is not primary, and that its public utility is not primarily as a spectator sport, but a participatory sport. So I just want to make sure we were clear on the interim uses.
Can we summarize the rest of this?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I just had, just that the mayor, during the mayor's town hall, the director and managing director and the mayor announced the plan for the interim dirt racetrack on roughly 23 acres. And the interim racetrack is being developed through a private-public partnership with Oahu Motorsports Association and longtime racetrack motorsports advocate Lee Cobian.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to have Lee come up and we'll talk about the interim use, but the main takeaway on this interim use is in order for us to have any permanent racetrack or motorsports activity, we have to amend the federal program of utilization, and that does require an environmental assessment. So the master plan process will need to be completed in order to identify the permanent uses for a raceway, where they would be located, and then we would have the ability to do capital improvements. But in the meantime, the Park Service has given us authority to do this interim use on this one parcel, subject to the restrictions that Kim had talked about. So Lee Cobian can share what he's done so far.
Aloha, Mr. Cobian, welcome.
Hello, guys. I don't know how you guys do this. I'm Lee Cobian. I've been working on this project for 27 years. Like I tell Andrea, you're 18. On the transfer and, of course, on behalf of the motorsports community. Unfortunately, Rep. Dave Alcos and Diamond Garcia, they couldn't stay the whole time, so they just wanted me to let them make a statement. We're very supportive and look forward to working in collaboration with the city to ensure the racetrack is a success for our community. And that's from State Rep. Diamond Garcia and David Alcos. Just want to let you know. Okay, so here's that interim dirt thing. Really quickly, Director Thielen and I, we worked on a project at Sand Islands, and we did a similar situation there. That was only about 15 years before they started doing expanding of the sewer plant. And so it's pretty much the same thing. If you see in the middle, there's that quarter-mile oval dirt track, and then on the right of that, it says advanced bikes. So we're only using that section of that 23 acres to stay away from the homes. That area is adjacent to the CH-47 Chinook helicopters. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. That is the fastest and loudest helicopter in the Army. And they reach around decibel ratings at 110. So just to let you know, the ambient decibel rating of that area is above 90, where residential's is, according to code, is within 45 to 50. So the ambient of that area is within 90 to almost 120. So keep that in mind, because I want to bring up something real quick, and nobody wants to talk about it, but there's a lot of people that hate the sport. In my testimony that I submitted somebody's testimony that literally said that we were immoral, indefensible, and that we just foster dangerous behavior. So please understand, there are people that really hate this sport, and they're gonna say that they're gonna die if we race there. Coral Crater Adventure Park does the same thing at 180 feet away from the homes. No complaints. Kauai's racetrack, Wailua Motorsports Park, is 50 feet away from the Outrigger Resort. No problems for 34 years. And pretty much, that's pretty much what I want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Cobian, appreciate it.
So, and I think from what Mr. Cobian was saying is we do have 2 other counties that do have raceways. They're very low key, not high level, and it's something that the Park Service wants us to do, where you have local residents have a place to go. It's not a spectator sport. So.
Yes, I've seen both of them on Kauai as well as Maui. They're wonderful.
I'm sorry, then 3, because the Big Island has one as well.
Oh, I haven't seen theirs, but yeah.
Okay, and so we'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you for your patience. I know we got you at the end of a long day.
Yes. We're going to go straight into testimony, and then we'll come back for questions. Thank you, Director. Is there anyone in person wishing to testify on this? Go ahead, Rep. Muraoka.
Hi, thank you, Chair Tupola and Council. I stand here in front of you guys, you introduced me as Rep. Muraoka. I stand in front of you guys as Chris Muraoka, father, race car driver, race promoter. I just got back from holding my 2nd annual Sure Can Showdown in Santa Maria, California, because I can't do it here. And guess what happened on Santa Maria, California? My baby, my 14-year-old son, drove his first race car. It's on YouTube. It's called the Sure Can Showdown. It's our 2nd annual. We want to bring that here. I challenge anybody on the council, in this building, or on this island to show me a sport that involves more family involvement than racing. In racing, you have the driver, you have the pit crew. They do tires, adjust valves, check steering, check the track, put few, so much more. I'm also a golfer. I also play pickleball. I do some of these stuffs. It's single sports, family. In Hawaii, crime is rising, things are rising, so much things going on. Family, we want to talk about reducing crime, keeping the young kids off the street, keeping the young kids away from the stuff. This is where it starts. This is how I got my start with my dad at Hawaii Raceway Park back when I was 18 months old. So I just wanted to let you know that this is way overdue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other testifiers in person wishing to testify? Go ahead.
I submitted testimony online, but it was late.
You're fine. Thank you for submitting it, and go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Tupola and Vice Chair Tolba. My name is John Rogers. I'm on the Evan Neighborhood Board. I'm the co-chair for Parks Committee. I'm here as a citizen of Kapolei and Ewa, speaking for that myself. So the first thing, big picture stuff that I want to talk about is the whole big master plan. In Ewa, we've asked for a swimming pool for as long as I can remember. We have a resolution on the books asking the city to build us a swimming pool in Ewa Kapolei. That's fine. I really feel Ewa Kapolei is now one big community now. We're tied together with Kapolei Parkway. And then the second thing we just did is right when they announced the KALAELOA Parklands, coming to be, we wrote a resolution for a pickleball facility, a large pickleball facility on the west side. And with our new hotels out there and everything, I really think that would be a good business decision for the city to bring in international, national, and local. So I'm not saying in place of the racetrack, because I'm actually for the master plan, putting the race facility where it's in the master plan. That's a really good idea. But getting now more smaller into the interim track, I have concerns about that this public-private partnership doesn't have a real plan yet. We haven't seen one at the Evan Neighborhood Board. Like, who's going to be in charge of what? Who's going to take out the trash? Who's going to do the basic stuff? So I really think that we need to come up with a plan, written rules. I mean, the Parks Department has some really great rules and regulations to how they run things, like for the motocross park in Hawaii Kai. I'm sorry. So yeah, so I just think we need these rules written, promulgated, and an agreement between the private and the public folk, so that the community knows what's going on, and then of course we get told about what those rules and regulations and how things are going to run, so we just understand it. That's my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rogers. Thanks for being here. Any other testifiers willing to testify or wishing to testify on this in person? Okay, clerks. Oh, go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Daniel Benz. I am representing the Electric Vehicles Autosport Association. I stand with my written testimony, and we are in support of this facility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Clerks, are there any online testifiers for this presentation?
Chair, yes, we have. Dr. Dudley.
Okay, let's go with Mr. Keone Dudley.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Chair, Mr. Cobian has come before our neighborhood board time and time again. And every time he's come, we have voted solidly against this project. Now, you talked about the neighborhood board earlier and how you think that we ought to be consulted. We need to be consulted. This man from the Evan Neighborhood Board has concerns. What about the people? If you look at that map, there are houses right along the side there. All those people that live along Roosevelt in KALAELOA, has anyone asked them? Do they have any idea in the world that this is coming up? There is a place for this racetrack, and it's over against the fence of Campbell Industrial Park, right at Mauka of the runway. People have been trying to develop it over there. This is the wrong place for this. It's criminal to be torturing those people by putting this right next to them. It's rotten. It's a terrible thing to do. Our neighborhood board strongly opposes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dudley. Thank you for testifying. Any other online testifiers, clerks?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, anyone unregistered? Last call. Anyone want to testify in person, online? Okay. All right, we're going to close testimony and we're going to open up for questions. Committee members, any questions for the director? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Really quick, I know that Ms. Rebellia added a lot of discussion about the different responsibilities that will be taken care of. I was looking at where infrastructure and accessibility into KALAELOA and the different things that will take place there. Who will be taking care of that? Will that be DPR, your consultant, or who will help plan that?
So what will happen in KALAELOA, the Hawaii Community Development Authority, or HCDA, is in charge of the KALAELOA district, which includes all of these park properties, the 7 properties. And they are dealing with the infrastructure build out that's serving the district. Each property owner in that district pays an assessment to KALAELOA. So once we took title, the Department of Parks and Recreation started paying an annual assessment, which will be our share of the common infrastructure. Depending upon what is built out in the park properties based on the master plan, so that master plan process will involve community outreach, community input. Basically, I view it as kind of a giant Tetris, figuring out what are the community desires for recreational uses, how do we maximize fitting those into the 7 properties, and then the areas that may be off limits for development based on historical or cultural sites. So that will be the master planning process. Once we have identified which developments go where, then the park department and the city would be responsible for phasing in the CIP, which would include the utilities and other infrastructure to serve those uses. But until we know what those uses are, we would not know, where we need to upgrade. So the gentleman talked about a pool. We do know that there is a shortage of pools. Leeward Coast, Kapolei, Ewa do not have pools at the rate of East, West, and urban Honolulu. But we would need to look with some of the properties down on the Makai section are fairly large and go fairly far inland, but we know that there were settlements in those areas, so there will likely have to be an archaeological inventory survey to identify which areas may be developable and which areas would not be. And so until we know those things through the master planning process, it really is a little bit of speculation about what would fit where.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Councilmember Tolba.
Thank you, Chair. This question is for Mr. Kobian. I have family members, first off, that love race car. I attend SEMA every year in Las Vegas, and I do see the need in the community, and I know that there's a huge community that would want to see this happen. So, Mr. Kobian, you heard Mr. Rogers' testimony about public and private. Can you share a little bit about, how you can address his question?
We're going to emulate the same program like the neighbor islands. It's under the Department of Parks and Recreation, but then they have approved clubs that use the facility. Just like a baseball park. Who owns the baseball park? No one. The city does. And the leagues that are involved, they take the time and they use it. Some of them have insurance. I guess they bring their insurance and application. They schedule their little leagues, and it'll be the same formula.
Okay, so you'll be able to address that question?
Absolutely. This ain't my first track. I've done many of them in many states.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people.
I know people are concerned about the trash.
Yes.
And I find that funny because it's like they're trying to say that we're going to throw trash all over. Well, we're not.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that we stay transparent and
absolutely. And just for the record, and with all respect with Dr. Dudley, the EVA board did not unanimously disapprove. Only one person was against it, and that was that gentleman. Everyone else said, hey, we're an advisory group. We can't say yes. We can't say no. When things happen, we'll tell everybody, you call the cops if there's a noise complaint. And I also want to bring up, Junior Grace had a track just on the same street, another parcel away. He has never had a noise complaint in the 4 years that they had that track.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Cobian, stay right there. I'm just going to do a follow-up.
Yes, Sam.
So I really think that that's a valid question because when I went to Kauai and I went to Maui, the tracks were like immaculate,
Immaculate.
like clean. And the reason why is because the people care about that area.
Absolutely.
We also have people in Kapolei Regional that have a right of entry with a DPR to use the archery range. Guess what? It's clean. And it's a community group. It's a nonprofit. So I think for me, because I went to a lot of the other tracks, I'm not as concerned because I do see so much community ownership, which is what DPR wants. Community ownership, people to help out. But my question is about the noise. Is there not an airport right there?
There's an airport right there. I went and walked the property with the deputy managing director, and we had our decibel readings, and the average decibel reading was over 100. That is the sound of a chainsaw. They are already living in that decibel environment. And like I told you, the Chinooks CH-47, where we're starting the interim, their decibel ratings are over 120. It's the loudest Army helicopter and fastest in the Army.
Yeah, and I bring that up because we have a Coast Guard base there, we have an airport there, and there actually already was an RFP that was put out by DHHL, and it's for a racetrack.
It's for a racetrack, yeah.
So,
and the location that Dr. Dudley was talking about, it's almost the same distance from the new homes by Costco that our interim area is next to those homes. And again, Coral Crater Adventure Park, 180 feet. I spoke to the management, Graystar, the manager, Stephanie Frost. They had no idea what they were doing, that there was even any motorized.
because you can't hear it.
You can't hear it.
Yeah.
So, you know, this whole noise thing, I think it's just because, and I'm going to be honest, they just don't like the sport.
Thank you, Mr. Cobian, I appreciate it. Yep, we're going to wrap in 3 minutes. So Director, thank you for this presentation. And I do believe that in this master plan, comprehensive public outreach is included in it.
Yes, and I do want to point out that we are going to require the group for the interim use to be able to put out the information that the public needs. So that would include things like hours of operation. Because no capital improvement can be made on this property under the interim use, there's not going to be any lighting. So this is something that's going to be a daylight hours operation, but they do need to be able to put out in more detail the information about how they're going to operate, how they're going to meet the needs of the people, because there isn't capital improvement ability to put in water or sewer, so we're going to need to have porta potties and things like that. So I've spoken with Mr. Cobian about the need to put together a plan, and then at that point we need to do some community outreach on the interim use as well as on the long-term plan. And it's in their best interest to have something that does address community concerns and shows that it is professionally managed, because then that's going to generate more support for putting something permanent in where we can do the capital improvements in the long-range planning.
Thank you so much, Director. You know, we need more public recreation places. To Rep. Maroka's point, we need more family-friendly activities that people can do in our communities. This will deter crime. Thank you for being transparent about this, especially as we move forward and we've allocated money for this so that the public knows what the money is being used for. With that being said, no further questions. Mahalo everyone for being here. Thank you, committee members. You did the marathon, 2.5 hours. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great day. We are now adjourning.